All right, well, the exhaust system's next. We'll put the vehicle up on the hoist and have a look underneath at that standard exhaust. Looks like it's sitting pretty low. That's probably not too good for off-road. So we'll try and keep everything as high as we can. We've got a pretty big 3-inch system to put in there, but we're sure it'll fit in there quite nicely. Here we are at the next stage of the works. So we had the standard vehicle this morning, we did testing. We then fitted the exhaust system to it, as you would have seen getting installed on the hoist. Then we brought it back down onto the dyno and we did some runs. Now, we've got our standard run here, which was coming and probably peaking somewhere around about the 102, 103 kilowatt area. That was standard at the wheels, not bad. We had a little bit of a peak with the exhaust. You can see there's a small gain, probably 2 or 3 kilowatts. And that probably goes back to what I was explaining when you saw it up on the hoist. The pipe size wasn't bad on this Colorado to start with. Sure, it's got a big muffler, but a big muffler can also usually cope with a lot of flow. So we haven't had too much restriction in this system, and by that we've gained just a small proportion. Remember, diesel tuning's all about fuel. That's where the power comes from. So by freeing it up, we're not expecting a huge gain in this particular vehicle. The line that you can see up the top, of course, was with the DP chip installed. And with the DP chip installed, we've come up from about 112 kilowatts, roughly, up to about 127 kilowatts. So we've kept, again, a fairly moderate tune. We don't want to go too high in peak power here. So we've finished up with the standard vehicle, exhaust installation, exhaust and chip. Next step's the intercooler. We're looking forward to getting that done.
We've just finished installation of an intercooler on Simon's Colorado ute. We're just about to go and put it on the dyno. It was a reasonably easy install. We didn't even have to remove the bull bar on this one. It managed to drop it in, removing the grill. Power gains with an intercooler alone are generally 5 to 10%. But when combined with an exhaust or a chip or any sort of engine management, this enables you to correct the air-fuel ratio, give you more bang for your buck. You can actually get up to 20 to 30% more power by fitting the intercooler itself. This intercooler is going to provide a lot more air to the motor. We should expect some real good power gains. Let's go and check it out on the dyno, see how it goes. We've just run the Colorado up on the dyno to give it a baseline run before we fitted the intercooler. You can see here the baseline air-fuel ratio is at about 17 to 1. We've run it up on the dyno now with the intercooler and it's leaned the mixture out 20.76 to 1. So it's leaned it out nearly 3 points. In turn, by doing that, you can see we've had about a 5 kilowatt increase. What we need to do now is add a bit more fuel back into it to bring the mixtures back to 17 to 1 where they are standard, and then we'll see a big jump in power.
Still got a few more runs, a few more things we're going to fiddle around with before we finish up. Anyway, we've got 3 graphs here. The red line is the standard ute this morning. The line just here in the sort of purple colour is the intercooler only. And like we were talking there and Dave was saying, about 4 or 5 kilowatts, that's air only. No fuel. Remember, we need fuel to make a fire. So air only, we just picked up 4 or 5 kilowatts just stand alone. That's pretty good. Once we added, of course, the DP chip, that allowed then to make fuel loading adjustments so that we could make benefits out of that air. Now, we can see some pretty dramatic gains here, going from 108 kilowatts standard up to 135. That's at the wheels with these big tyres. I think that's pretty impressive. But the big thing we want to look at here is the standard is the red and the green is with the DP chip and intercooler. We've ended up actually with the standard vehicle's air-fuel ratios, but with the power gain of that green line there. You can see that's jumped up to 130 odd kilowatts. We're actually still running a little bit leaner and a little bit certainly cooler than previously, with actually quite a dramatic power gain. So we've gone from even starting point, which is at 1900 revs, is 80 kilowatts. We're now gone to about 92, 93. And yet we're running pretty much what we had this morning coming out the tailpipe. So this combination has allowed us to get back to where we were this morning, but we've picked up about 30 kilowatts. That's getting up towards 30% in power gain at the wheels. That is pretty dramatic. 10% you notice already. 15, 20 is pretty good. 30, that'll be a huge difference that Simon's going to notice driving this vehicle.
Just gone and checked the intercooler itself. inlet pipe going to the intercoolers from the turbo is hot, you can't even touch it, burns your hand, but the inlet pipe going to the inlet on the inlet manifold is cold to touch. So it proves our intercooler is working really efficiently. And in just opening the bonnet, there's a noticeable reduction in under bonnet temperature. For diesel efficiency, this is excellent.
So at the end of the day, coming back to where we are, we started this morning with low power. We've now gained about 30 kilowatts, but we've ended up with the same exhaust gases coming out the tail end. So if we've got 30 kilowatts more, that's going to be a lot more efficiency. Simon should be able to cruise along with these big tyres effortlessly, and I'd be surprised if he doesn't get much better economy. Sure, when you put the foot flat to the floor, you're going to use fuel. But what we're looking for here is drivability and cruisability. It has so much power now and the rev range, it should equate to much better economy. It's been a great last day and a half we've spent here. We've had Dave here from High Performance Diesel as well. Of course, Simon and Miranda sitting there behind the cameras filming as usual. Probably in all the years that we've been doing tuning, this has been one of the better events that we've had because of the fact that we've had two vehicles in different forms, from stock standard to modified with tyres and all sorts of weight in the back. So it's been a great test. Everything we've done has been pretty incremental, as repeatable as we can get it. Things change out there. Conditions get worse. That's why we've still erred on a relative safe tune. Even though we've got high gains, we could have gone a lot further. We've erred away from that because we know when those conditions get bad out there, we've had very cold weather here at the moment, we've had frost in the morning, wait till you get out to 45 degrees. That sort of safe tuning and not over the top tuning really comes into its own. We thank Simon and Miranda from 4 Wheel Drive TV for coming. It was great to have Dave here. Thank him for coming all the way up from South Australia from High Performance Diesel. We look forward to doing plenty more trips and see how these vehicles come up. Overall, job's complete. 2 vehicles, I've had an absolute ball. Dave, I know, has had an absolute ball. Simon's grinning from ear to ear, but I think his biggest smiles will come once he gets back on that highway, heading down south and really testing the vehicle.